For fiscal year 2022. So that's what QA is looking at. That's what we're managing to. That's what we're trying to get done. That's what we're trying to achieve. You see the first four up top: manual ASNs, exposure, percent pay to invoice, and adjustment compliance. Those are the four for the first half. And we'll focus deeper on the second four for the second half. Any questions on the metrics? So there's our weekly update. The update is not.
Hey, Joe,
real-time.
Joe, go back to the last slide. Does everybody, let's be honest, does everybody understand what each one of those mean?
What is percent paid to invoice? What's that?
So the percent paid to invoice, should have brought Celeste in here, she's here today. So that is one reason we're having a Levittown visit tomorrow. The vendors are not getting paid as to what they're shipping to us by what we're receiving. So the percent paid to invoice is how much they're getting paid per the cent per what they're shipping, what they're saying they shipped.
How do we control that or impact that metric?
The accuracy piece on receiving. Go ahead, Larry.
The other way you can control that is with the printed OSC deletions and the released IRC deletions. If you do not understand with what we're doing with the OSC deletions for printed cartons, that is how we are paying the vendor. So if it's printed, it went through the temp head, the vendor is getting paid for it. That's why we have to delete it as an OSC.
And the OSCs is a big part of that. That's why we changed those adjustments, but the IRCs are not. So the IRCs, we're saying they're errors, but if we've actually got the product and re-received it, it caused a lot of confusion on the financial side. And they're having to figure that piece out, and they get a lot of disputes by it.
Are these color coded to how we're doing? Like if it's green, does that mean we're doing good?
No, they're not.
That's easy.
It's just Easter code.
Hey,
So basically just each metric and what the goal of the metric is.
that's a good question though, Kyle. You know,
Very good question.
trying to understand the graph up here. I want to make sure that everybody understands the definitions of this. So if you don't understand, right now is the time to ask. We got the SMEs in here. Let's ask and let's get some clarification on it, because if we start talking about in the second half why we missed on these metrics, and we didn't know what metrics we were even looking at, then shame on us for not asking, right? Right? Safe place. Ask the questions.
I got a question. So we said the ones that's in printed status, that was gonna be considered OSCs, correct? But if we have a printed label, they're still considered IRCs, correct?
That's correct.
So once again, as a team, we have to do our due diligence, right? And ensure that we are turning in those printed labels, turn them in to ensure that we're not paying for things that we didn't actually see, correct? If I got that?
So if we have it labeled, then we can adjust it out as an IRC versus an OSC. What you got, Larry?
One of the things I want to point out, next, second half metrics, you'll see fluid rejects, less than 5.5%. This is why we are doing vendor compliances right now. We are trying to get ahead of that for the second half, and it's gonna take time to get there. So all the more with with those pictures for fluid rejects will get us under that, hopefully will get us closer or under that 5.5%.
Yeah, we have a lot of issues with the fluid rejects, as we know, transloads we've seen today. The IFC loads that come through. We have associated behaviors that we can control in-house. And of course, like Larry said, the vendor compliance, we keep those coming. We did 40 last week submitted, so really good job with that, 40 vendor compliance submissions. And then Kyler was asking about the green. Well, adjustment compliance, we are definitely in the green on that one. Last week, we dropped down a little bit. We hit 93, but we've been hitting 100, 100, 99. Those numbers for the last 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. Any other ones y'all see specific you want to talk about?
Just for a redrop, why would that affect us?
So it's just basically how many changes we're making in the system. We're actually doing good on that. We're not doing more than the 500 weekly. Some buildings are. So we,
Lots.
That's overrides. I'm looking at redrops on the quarter.
The redrops. So basically, it's how the freight's coming in. So we got a data quality team that looks at that stuff. So the more time we're changing stuff in the system, they look at it and see if they can fix it going forward. But it does affect the building by just alone by the hours we spend processing freight. So if it comes in right to begin with, it's a lot smoother than if we got to run the QA, get the distros redrop. It takes it a lot of time.
So that's compared to the entire input, right?
Yeah.
Using the same distros as everybody else.
Yes, I mean, they're all ready to sell.
Joe, you mean QA go to fluid and QA go to inbound, right? Not the other way around?
Yeah, exactly, Sean. That's what we're working on. So if you have an issue, call QA over with the radio. Okay, exposure, we are in the green, but we're fairly in the green. So that is, let's say fiscal week 10 update. Let's see, we'll move a little closer here. 0.13, so we're getting a little better at it. Last week we did 0.109, so we'll be even a little better than what we are year to date. We are in the green. If we have a big hit or a big miss, and that'll put us off into the red for the year. The last 3 weeks we've been doing good. First few weeks we didn't do too well, so we're in the recovery stage right now.
So it looks like redrops were the hottest. So to clarify, we really shouldn't be redropping distros because that's what our stores need, correct?
It really depends on the product as to what the store needs. Larry could probably elaborate on that one a little better than I can, but there is freight that comes through that we just have to redrop. We're not going to be able to process it, depending on what they order. It's probably one I need to fast forward to the data quality team so they can look at it. All right, anything else on there?
Yeah, about the redrops, do we just partner up with QA as they come up when we find something that we really believe should be changed?
So, yes.
Or we
You
need
talk about the disposition overrides.
No, the distro redrop, like something that might go to PTS, but it'd be better if it went cross-dock, and most of it does go cross-dock, just a few are split up.
Yes, just make sure we get pictures on all that stuff.
Okay.
I know Larry and Sherry's got a big list of stuff we're working on right now. All right, there's the printed carton compliance that I spoke of earlier. We're doing really well on that one. Had a couple little misses, but overall 99, 100, 100, 99, 93. QA owns that report, so we're going to achieve 100%. And then the rejects. So that's a big one. That's one that we struggle with. We've talked about that. 7.08 for fiscal week 11, 585 for the network. And if you look right there, SKU no reads is the highest, 1.9. And print failed right behind it at 1.64. So another reason Larry called out the vendor compliance was very important to keep sending the vendor compliance. Any other questions? That's all I got.
So we're going to talk about reasonable suspicion and why this is important. As leaders, you all have a duty to act when you suspect someone of using alcohol or drugs. So Home Depot does have a policy about what reasonable suspicion is and why. So it says, while at work, an associate may be drug and alcohol tested for reasonable suspicion when the associate is suspected of being under the influence of drug and alcohol, has violated the Home Depot written policy rules prohibiting the use of use and possession, sale, transfer of drug and alcohol while working or on the premises, or operating the Home Depot vehicle, machinery, or equipment. So, why? So, reasonable suspicion, it could be for appearance, the smell, the speech, the behavior, acting, body odor, the smell of marijuana. So these are the reasons why we would do a reasonable suspicion. It does require confirmation from 2 leaders. So the first leader may identify, you call a second leader, say, hey, go talk to that person. You do not tell them why, just give them a reason to go address the associate. And when they address the associate, then you call that second leader back and you guys decide if there is a reasonable suspicion. Okay, go ahead. So there is a reasonable suspicion form. You can find this on My Apron. All you need to do is just type in reasonable suspicion, and this should be the first thing that comes up. There's a checklist. You have to fill it out. You identify what you think may be the issue, and you both have to complete a separate form. All right? Once you complete that form, you are required to issue a drug test and an alcohol test. The drug test is done here on site. The alcohol test, you do have to call First Advantage and have a team come out. Now, this team does not come out very quickly. So Key 2 has had a problem with it, but it's a 3-hour. The associate must wait. The associate refuses to wait. They refuse to take the drug test. They volunteer to become a customer. All right? So there's the numbers listed. You can also find all of this on My Apron under the checklist. Oh, the pictures. You ain't pressing for the pictures. The next step, is to do the drug test, and then it gives you the policy on what to do. HR, you should partner with HR and your AGM immediately once you have a reasonable suspicion. Time is of the essence, so you must get this done in a timely manner. And this is the numbers to call. Again, all of this can be found in My Apron under reasonable suspicion using the checklist. It says, do not let the associate drive home. You're to call a Lyft or Uber. On our incidents, our associates refused to take the drugs test. They left immediately. We did not call the police, but you should. You should be driving drunk or impaired.
Too hot coming up.
I understand that you have this the alcohol portion of it, but are we talking as to what we can do in this building to better limit that time? 3 hours is really unreasonable.
Our AP was looking for a plan B. Home Depot has a policy. We can recreate policies. We have to go by what Home Depot has set the policy to be. The policy as of right now is to call this team to come out. Unfortunately, the team is not in this area, so there's nothing we really can do about it. I mean, until we come up or they create a policy for Plan B, for the alcohol team to come out. And if they probably had a team here area that was local, but COVID caused a lot of places to close, maybe we will get a local vendor to be able to come out. But they're still working on it.
I'm trying to go through my email to see if I can still find the email from the lady that's still local. I have not been able to find that one still. Then once I find it, totally gonna reach out to her to see if we can kind of get sort of a contract with her like we have with the other company.
Yeah. So key two, the late night shift is going to be a problem, and probably if you have an incident on a Sunday, you may have a long wait for the team to come out. But just remember, don't let that be a deterrent to call, do the drug test on site, Make sure you partner with the HR so they can get that drug test to the right place and not left in a box or in a bucket unattended. It should be secured and sent off immediately. All right, anybody have any questions? Darcel?
So, while the associate is waiting for the alcohol team to come, what should they do?
They should just be sitting in a secure area. In a secure area off the floor. Someone should be watching them the entire time. Yes, Tony? They probably will. I mean, the drug test will tell it though. Any other questions? All right, that wraps up reasonable suspicion.
All right, team, next up is gonna be the operational part of the plan. Yeah, old Beasley in the house. All right, team, although we just talked about drug and alcohol test, this is not part of that, right? So don't worry about that. So in the end of our presentation on the available side, we got a little game on the play, so I wanna make sure you guys are paying attention. We're just gonna do a little things about what's going on in the fluid available side. So here we go. So looking at this slide right here, it looks a little rested. I don't know why it looked like that, but anybody can tell me an opportunity in this picture? I love it. PPE, team, PPE. Anytime we're working in an operation, we definitely need our associates to use our gloves. But give me another opportunity on this picture. Uh-oh, I heard. I say it for me.
Pulling the pallet to the front instead of putting it off to the side. I just heard Joey talking about it a couple days ago, that's why I know.
Got it. So she got a cheat code. Joey, why is that important?
It's important because the way the skates are set up, they're set up at an angle, so a downward slope. And if I'm grabbing that pallet from the front, the pallet behind it is already moving forward. So if I pick it up from the side, I'm less likely to get hurt if I pull it from the side.
Perfect. So if y'all ever seen any of the inductors working out there and actually pick up those pallets, every now and then that pallet gets stuck, and it's so difficult to try to get that pallet stuck from that and versus the beam. So make sure that they're picking up from the side so the social won't get stuck or cause any type of injury to themselves. All right. Next slide. All right, team. So we're going to be talking about UPHs. So we already know the fluid side, bottom 3 is our CPH for the area. So we already know fluid neck, not fluid neck, what it is. Come on with it. Huh? Inbound fluid receive. Thank you. So that's our bottom 3. But if you look at that, key 1 receiving fluid is at a 269 team. So phenomenal job, key 1. This right here is a representation from fiscal week 1 all the way to fiscal week 10. So at a 269. Then you got key 2 showed at a 228 from fiscal week 1 to fiscal week 10. Then you got key 3 showing at a 217 from fiscal week 1 to fiscal week 10. So team, this is from January though, January team. So don't want to hold on to that as if we were doing horrible. So we did want to show where we are as of right now for the past month. All right, so as up there it shows key 1 staying consistent. So clap it up with key 1 team staying consistent at a 269. Key 2 right at 224 and key 3 at a 241. But the averages right here screen a little funky, but it's supposed to be at 257. Top 3 averages at 257. The network average is at a 207 right at the bottom. So when you look at where we at right here, it's a average is at 244. We're ranked number 4 team. So ranked number 4. Clap it up to that team. Clap it up. In the last month, ranked number 4. But we definitely got a lot of opportunities out of that team. Each key, even though we're showing 224, 241s, have shown that they have the ability to be at 259 or better. But we got to stay consistent, team. That's the issue with us. Ebb and flow, as Tasha and I always talk about. We always bouncing in and out, as you've seen the screen before. look at this on key 3, fiscal week 1 at a 140 something, and then you're looking at fiscal week 6 at a 176. If you think about your average, it's gonna be drastically impacted by having those low numbers, right? So one thing I like to talk about for key 3, we only got 3 days, team. You got Monday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? So when you have a horrible day, it's very hard to make up that ground, team. So we definitely gotta stay consistent. From Monday all the way throughout. This right here, the screen's a little wide, but it showed us in comparative to our partner keys in the network. So key 1, this is all of the buildings, right? So you look at key 1 right there, they're in the top 3, they're green, 263. Once again, clap it out to them. All right, we'll call it key 2 at a 229. You look at all other different buildings, 263 for them, 259, and 275 different to make up some ground. And then key 3, right, compared to all other key 3s, we're 237, definitely not where we want to be at, but in comparison to all the other key 3s, we're in the top 3. So definitely can do a better job. But we know we need to change that, all right? So what we're gonna do is talk about one of our hot topics. Can anybody tell me what our hot topic is not available leader? Rejects? Which one is it? Vendor comes or rejects? Both of them. Like it, both of them. All right, team. So our inductors, right, can do a phenomenal job doing that freight on the line all day long. But once that line starts doing this right here, that fluid penetration means nothing, right? So definitely got to stay consistent, right? So Larry and the QA team have already talked highly of how we got continuously throw those vendor compliance forms in, and I appreciate you guys sending them out instantly. All it takes is about 3 minutes to take those pictures, send them in, and guess what? We might not get that instant turnaround, but due time, when we keep on pestering, we'll get the results we need, team. So as you see right in this picture right here, it probably took them 4 minutes to dump that line, but now they got to clear that whole line and start all the way from scratch, team. So let's make sure we keep those going. Back to the basics, team. So, Rager, come up. All right, so back to the basics, all right, team. So what we want to do in our, on the fluid side, I want to start from scratch and start talking about where we stand and the things that we need to do to improve. So as you see, our lines are back-to-back, staying consistent. That's how I need to be at all times. So when we do our huddles, I love when Ty comes and calls my team out, right? Because when he comes to the huddle and we don't got no freight coming on the line, what that means is we got to challenge ourselves to do better, team. So when y'all go to the huddles, I want everybody to look at panel 1 and panel 2 going forward and see how we really building, flowing through the building, team. Everybody else pay attention to panel 1 and 2 when we at the huddle? All the time, right? We can't see what Loader's doing. We can't see what Non-Con doing. We can't see what nobody doing, but we can see what panel 1 and panel 2 doing, right? So we definitely make it a call out and have our associates being more aggressive, right? Yeah, that's screen again. All right, improvement plan. We already know the things we need to improve. Ray, you want to speak on those topics?
Yeah, so I think from a flow standpoint, we either have the huddle in a different location or really pay attention to that. That was a joke, but it is very easy to see. I mean, we all huddle in the same spot, so you definitely see the opportunities that panel 1 and 2 have, and you can go ahead and assume that they're happening on 3, 4, and 5 as well. Transition time. SOP gives us 3 minutes to transition. That is a huge amount of time to do a transition. They should really be done in about 30 seconds. And that takes associate preparedness. They need to know, hey, we're on the last pallet of this ASA, we need to flex, we need to finish this pallet and be ready to throw the brick on the next one. There should be minimal downtime. Wish I could see this slide a little bit better. But one thing too to drive UPH, so I know we've got some new fluid soups. You gotta have access to Tableau, and you gotta have access to users by panel line. And your associates need to log into Velocity, scan the barcode on the line, that way they are associated to the line that they're throwing on. If you don't have access to that, for whatever reason, it seems to take a while. Joe has been working on getting Kenneth access for a couple of weeks now. I think that's on the Tableau end of things, but you gotta have that. That way you can log into Tableau, you can see exactly who's logging into what line and how they're performing. Working on these slides real quick.
Go for it. Improv.
I just need it. I got them on my computer. I'm sure everybody's wondering what I'm wondering. Is Kool-Aid sugar-free? All right, so monitor associate by job function. So that's a LORP report, really important. I think that's important in every department, especially if you're driving units per hour. And you also want to know who's hitting your buckets, right? So bucket purity. For received flue though, you need to log into that and make sure that everybody's assigned correctly in LM. So you don't want any hours of hitting that bucket that are not supposed to be hitting that bucket. So that's a good report to run. I typically run it right after first break. You got to give it a little bit to get everybody in there, but usually after first break I'll run it. If there's somebody hitting that bucket that does not belong in there, they are having a negative effect on your units per hour. So make sure you're looking at that. A lot of times it's just an associate who may have been a former inductor who never got switched over in the system. So at a minimum, all their indirect time from start of shift is going to hit your bucket. So it's just hours that you don't need. Go back one slide. And then monitor the freight. So another thing for units per hour, if you got a Rusto, you never need 2 people throwing a Rusto. You never need 2 people throwing a Leviton. You might need, for tote opportunity, you would have to have somebody down there toting on the Leviton. But think about freight that doesn't require 2 throwers. Move that thrower to a different area. Have them go run MHE if that's a need, or have them go load or wall build, whatever else they need to do. But it's going to bump that UPH up. But those 3 things, so velocity, everybody knows what that is. I used to call it just WM, but that's all it is. Log into velocity in the gun. They need to go into inbound, and I believe 13 is the other option, but it's just fluid induct, scan into the barcode on the line. That way they're associated to that line, and they're getting credit for what they're throwing. And then associate by job function. If you don't know how to look at that, I love looking at that report. It used to drive me crazy, but once you figure out what it is and what you're looking at, it's really, really useful. And then just being flexible. So if you got a Rusto, don't waste the labor hours having 2 people throw a Rusto. Move them somewhere else where they can do something more productive. Next slide. And then so Monty and I looked at and this is just preliminary. I think we could probably do better at, once we continue to do the vendor compliance, and we can throw freight on the line and we're confident that it's going to go through the line, then we can actually really start driving performance. But if Panda 1 can push 6,500, it says cartons per hour, that's pretty stout. But 6,500 by the end of the shift for Panda 1 and 2, 7,000 on 3 and 4, and 13,000 on 5. That will get us 40,000 through the temp head, through the end of shift. So that would be a great starting point. Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, I like it. I time it. So.
Hey, I can guarantee you Chuck will leave you alone if you hit that.
Yeah, once a week. That's all we need to do. But yeah, so to get us 40,000 through the temp heads alone, that's what we would need. Obviously, it would vary day to day. I mean, sometimes Panda 5 can hit 20K, sometimes they hit 15, whatever. So, but if we can start holding the associates to that, associates need to know the goal. The counters are really valuable. I don't think we use them correctly. I don't think we set those expectations for our team. And I think we make a lot of excuses like, oh, we had a lot of rejects today. Well, that's kind of part of it. Or we had cutout. Well, that's definitely part of it. That's not going away. So they got to figure out how to make the freight run. So having challenging performance conversations will help drive that as well. And then observations on all inductors. So Ken has done a great job on Key 2 about going and doing the observations in, Tactic Connect? Smart Access, yeah. And getting those initial observations in, that way he can give feedback to his associates and they know what opportunities that we are seeing, right? Make sure the feedback is given, like don't just do the observation and not give the feedback so they know, so at least they know we're looking at it, right? And then inductors, it's been difficult over the years to get inductor documents on performance. It's gonna have to be on behaviors, because as we all know, you have more than one person going on the line, who's slacking, who's not. It's very hard to tell. So it's gonna be observation based. Make sure that feedback gets in and then subsequent note to files get in so we can start building a case on what behaviors are keeping them from performing. So, Monty, you got another slide? Anyhow, basically, that's it in a nutshell. So, there we go. But anybody got any questions about anything? Who doesn't have, Shakira, you got access to users by panel line?
I got a little how your line looking right now. This thing is empty. This thing is empty. Our team is rolling today, Josh.
Why did a great job?
For real, what we at right now? Let me check
good.
out TV. Okay. Look at the screen. I see some greenery. 7.9 reset rate right now. All right. Looking pretty excited. One big opportunity for the team right now that the burden is pretty high. We might need to send some resources on that.
Absolutely, the burden is 5,355. We're gonna come on pretty soon.
I guess we gotta make some adjustments. We wanna win today. All right, I'm out, Josh.
All right, team, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna see if we can make those adjustments. I need four leaders to come on up. We finna play, let's play TTS. TTS. Anybody know what TTS stands for? Davon? There you go. Throw that stuff. I need 4 leaders to come on up and let's throw that stuff. Come on up. There we go, I got one. Need another one. There go 2. Oh, there go 3. Don't run, Lupe. Do. One more. There you go, maximum. All right, team, so the purpose of this game right here, I don't get no tequila bag, not at all. All right, so team, the purpose of this game right here, we're gonna see if who can throw the fastest. We got 4 Panda lines, Panda 1, Panda 2, Panda 3, Panda 4. And what we're gonna do, if y'all look at the screen, you see how I got the blocks all the way down? Those are representation of your freight, right? If you look at this picture right here, that freight right there is in a perfect line going down the Panda line, team. So the difference is, on that screen, you don't have the barcode. You have the barcode face up, most conveyable side. Everybody know when you're in inductor, you gotta throw the product on the belt the correct way. All right, so we're gonna get them to throw the freight. I'm gonna say sort it down. The associate that gets the most boxes, when I say sort it down, wins, unless the behaviors are not indicative to being successful, all right? So what that means is some of those boxes might say some behaviors that their leader has not been doing. And if they've been doing bad, might lose a block. Been doing great, might win a block. Y'all ready? You not ready? You scared? What you need? What you? You can't read what it say. So look at the block. So see Darcel, see how happy she was? She won, by the way. Y'all see Darcel, she's a champion. Clap it out to Darcel being a champion. So once again, you're gonna throw the boxes on the line as fast as possible in a single file line, just like a block. Just like on the panel line. It should be nice, neat, and organized so the 10 peg can hit. Alright? But it has to be barcode face up. If the barcode is not face up, it's probably gonna kick off, alright? But if it is, guess what? You got freight going up. Now, need you on this side, Max. We need another line. Yeah, y'all kinda big, huh? Y'all could do it. Yours. There you go. That's you. I will. Boom. Make it easy for you. Boom. There you go. Boom. Boom. Get us some more blocks. There you go. Make it easy for y'all. I had to separate y'all. All right.
30 seconds, right, Joe?
Barcode up, let's go.
All right, hold on. 3, 2, 1, sort of go. Barcode up. Barcode up. Barcode up. Sort it down. Stop. Sort it down. Sort it down. All right. I don't know what you got going on. All that is not a single file line. Ain't nothing no finna be reading. Kicking off and off. There you go. All right. So look. How many of you got over there, Max? You got 6. How many you got over there, Sean? Need to keep my 3 of them things off. So you got 6, she got 7. No, she ain't with it. So now, team, I need y'all to flip over 3 of the blocks on your line. Don't matter which three. Alright, boom. Alright, now, Miss Tanya, what your block say? CAB, Panda 4. Alright, so what that means is consistently addresses behaviors. So what that says is the leader over here consistently address behaviors, so she's gonna gain a block, and then Panda 4 is gonna lose a block. Panda 4, you Panda 4, you lose a block. Sorry, bucko. Alright, the next one she got. Performance panel, 0 notes for behaviors. Ooh, guess how many blocks she lose? 5 blocks. Take all 5 of them blocks away. Gotta go. You gotta make sure you're addressing these behaviors, Miss Tanya. You got to address these behaviors and annotate them in the notes, manage the notes. Oh, look at her now. Now she down to 3. Oh, and the sorter is down. Lose 3 more blocks. Oh man, and she had the most. Gotta make sure. That's the life of the conveyable team. A lot of different things go on the conveyable side. The sorter can go down, the temp can go down. Not address behavior consistent or cool, but you out the game. Don't worry about it. You out the game. All right, what you got, Tim? What's your first block say? Okay, he's engaged with his team. Y'all hear that? Engaged. How many blocks he get? He get 2 extra blocks. Boom. Boom. I like it. Engagement is very important over here. What that block say? I wrote it there.